Hello, I'm Alan March. I'm on the Secretary of the Durham Miners Association. Today is the 150th anniversary of the Durham Miners Gala, biggest and best socialist event in Europe, possibly in the world. Massive event. Gala was first held in 1871 in Durham, at Wharton Park. I think it was August the 12th, 1871. And of course it was due to be taking place today. Due to COVID, we've had to cancel it for the second year in a row. We've had communities within the Durham area travelling into Durham on the second Saturday of every year, for 150 years now. And this year, the anniversary is going to be marked, due to cancellation, by a series of big little meetings. Each community in the area have been consulted. Each community of lots of communities within the area, from the north of the county down to the south bank of the north bank of the River Tees, have been, and having loads of these little community events, smaller events obviously than the big meeting, but it shows the resilience of our people in the communities. From Greenside in the north to Shildon in the south, there's events planned. We were hoping all these events could have been held on the 10th of July. Unfortunately, we cannot, because of the ongoing government cut-ups with the roadmap and everything else. These events have had to be rearranged yet again to later in the year. So from July the 19th onwards, well into August, we've got a number of these events that's going to be going on. There'll be brass band music, displays of banners, live music, games for the kids, picnics, typical community events representing what we stand for as miners. Because I've said it on many occasions that the Gala's always been a celebration of the best of us. Community, solidarity, and what we can achieve when we stand together. For the many, not the few. That's been our ethic for donkey's years. This has been a difficult year for everyone, particularly our thoughts go out to all those people around the country who've lost loved ones and the near and dearest due to this COVID pandemic. We're really saddened that we can't have the Gala, but we're delighted. Again, I cannot reiterate enough, delighted that the mining communities have stepped up to the plate again to bring people together. And of course, these were organised by our banner groups. Our banner groups have been absolutely fantastic. After the closure of the collieries, people across the region stepped up to care for and renew our banners and preserve our proud heritage and culture, the culture of our communities. The banner groups remain central to the Durham Miners Gala every year. So we're delighted that they've stepped up to mark the 150th anniversary of the Durham Miners Gala in such a spectacular way. The Gala will return next year. It'll return on Saturday the 9th of July 2022, bigger and better than ever. We're working to make it the biggest and best gala for many, many years. We'll be there putting our political message out. We'll be there putting our socialist messages out. We'll be there fighting against this vile, evil Tory regime. For 140 years or so, the Durham Miners Gala was paid for by from the contributions of ordinary miners, paid for by the DMA. Today it's funded by Miners. Miners is an organisation set up after the last pits in the area had closed, after there was no further income coming into the association. Miners stepped forward as a fundraising body, and they're doing a tremendous job. So if you've got the Gala at heart, if you love the Gala as much as we do, and you're not a member of Miners, please join. You can join at Durham Miners Gala, durhamminersgala.org, and get the application form, get the contributions in, and we'll keep that Gala going for as long as we can.
Hello and welcome to Socialist Think Tank. That was Alan Margam there, who was speaking on behalf of the Durham Miners Association. And I'm going to quickly introduce you to the panel, who really don't need that much introduction. If you usually watch us, you'll probably know Laura. Hello, Laura.
Hello, happy gala day, everybody.
And for those of you who watched our first ever interview that it took me 4 months to edit, you'll know Heather Wood. Sort of legend of the Durham coalfield. Hi, Heather.
Hiya. Glad to be here.
And we've also got someone called Jeremy Corbyn, who some of you may have heard of from various endeavours from the Peace and Justice Project. Hi, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks, and thank you for inviting me on this evening.
Thank you for coming on. We're really pleased about that. I can see on the live stream there's people putting in questions in the chat already, which is really, really nice, and putting in comments and things, some really, really good ones. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce the other panel member, which, as always, is actually you. So you can see that we're all on banners tonight, which is really nice. So thanks to Rochelle for doing that for us, our amazing graphic designer. And also your comments will be appearing live on screen. We do get to see them. We will be picking some of them out later on, and we'll be having a chat. So please do comment along, and do not forget to like and to share and to subscribe and all those things, and become a member of Socialist Think Tank as well, and also become a Mara. There's more on that later. So right, I'm going to ask people, how are you feeling on Gala Day, not being able to go and not being able to be physically there? Heather, what do you think? You've been to probably the most galas of all of us. How does it feel not being able to be physically there?
It just feels so strange. It feels upsetting. I feel sad because that's the time in the year when I meet everybody. But I have to say that all the activities that's been on today, the different videos and things, have really helped. And this is a culmination of it. So we've been at least able to keep contact with each other. So it's sadness, but I know we'll all be there next year.
And Jeremy, you've been to a lot of galas, haven't you, over the years? This isn't a recent thing that you decided to do for popularity. You've always been a follower of the Durham Miners Gala and always been involved. Do you know how many you've been to?
Oh, lots. And it's an amazing day. And today it's been a bit weird. Second Saturday in July, I'm supposed to be in Durham, and I'm not. I'm cycling around North London, which is obviously nice because I'm meeting constituents and people and so on. That's lovely, but I'd much rather be in Durham today. And there's something about the way in which the gala has developed and changed, but never lost its purpose or its principles. And I think that's quite a feat for all those that have organised it. And the sort of spirit of the bands and the place and the town and so on, just fantastic. And I love being there. So in my diary, it's already there. July the 9th, 2022. I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there with you as well.
I go to Durham on the Friday and stay over, but not always. And there's been one gala where I was trying to get there from Edinburgh. It was during the leadership contest in 2015, and there was a train broke down and we were stuck. And I got to the station in Durham, and somebody said they'd drive me to the gala. I said, well, look, much good that are going to do you, because you'll not get a car through. And so we had to literally run all the way to the field, because the platform party had already reached the field and we did on the platform. And so bless them, as soon as I got on the platform, they said, well, it's great Jeremy's here, so we'll put him on first. So it literally run from the station and then got on to speak. And then afterwards we had to go to Leeds for a leadership hustings. So that was the shortest visit ever made to Durham. All the others are just incredible. And seeing the town and so on, just so good. So I love Durham. What a great place.
Well, we aren't far away, are we, Laura? We are about 10 miles outside of Durham. We're in County Durham at the moment. And were you tempted today to run down with a banner?
What, just walk
Me?
about on your own, you mean, with the banner, see what happens?
I don't think I'd be able to carry it by myself, to be honest, and I have two.
I
So
mean, you
Some
could
people
have done.
did.
Just sort of assembled by the county hotel and walk past and see what happened.
you'd see if somebody will shout and clap at me just for being there.
I'm sure they would have done.
I could have done.
Yeah.
I think this year though it's been, Heather's right. It is sad, especially because I think this year we probably have needed it more than we've needed it for a long time. That sense of community and that sense of togetherness is like sort of drifting away from us day by day. And wouldn't it have been lovely to be able to for everybody to get together and share stories and. Everyone's just, it is, we always say it's Socialist Christmas. It's Gala Day is the day of the year.
I understand that the Burston Strike School celebration in September in Norfolk is going to go ahead, is what I've heard, which if it does is fantastic. And I'll certainly be going there, but it is next year. I see that Alan's article in the Morning Star today about I've just got it in here in front of me. Next year's Miners Gala to be dedicated to key workers. I think that's so good, because that sort of brings into perspective the role of all those key workers that have been so vital during COVID, but also the way they're so grossly exploited. I remember asking Boris Johnson a trick question. Well, it wasn't a trick as far as I was concerned. He thought it was. He said, who's more important these days, a hospital cleaner or a hedge fund manager? I'm still waiting for the answer.
Well, we know what it is, don't we? And I'm sure
I think we all know what it is. I'm not sure he does. But Heather, what's going to happen next year then?
Next year, I'll probably be there at about 7 o'clock on the Saturday morning. If I haven't stayed
for you, then, is it?
Sorry?
Yeah.
So is that a late start for you?
And then we'll be round in the Market Square for the first banner coming in. And John and I stand together. Now that my mum used to be with us, Myrtle, but obviously she's gone, but she'll be there in spirit. I know that. But John and I stand, we watch the first band come in, and you can guarantee we just look at each other and the tears are rolling down our cheeks. It's tears of pride, isn't it? It's tears of happiness. It's tears of joy. It's tears of sadness. All those things. That's our day, Durham Day. The big meeting.
A couple of people have commented here. So what's happened is because Heather, you're in a tent, aren't you?
I am. I'm sorry, but I'm actually in the Lake District in a tent.
Yeah. So what happens is if when Heather's internet connection like kind of wavered for a second, everyone swapped places on our thing. So Laura's pretending to be Heather, Heather's pretending to be Jeremy, and Jeremy's pretending to be Laura. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a speech from Mary Foy and fix that. It's a really nice. Contribution from Mary Foy, and we're really grateful for her doing this. And then we'll come back in a second, and this is our political speeches section of the Durham Big Meeting. So we're almost emulating being on the stage. And so here comes Mary.
Hello. Today would have been the 150th Durham Miners Gala, or Big Meeting. A day of celebrating our heritage, community and solidarity. And for many people, myself included, it is without a doubt the best weekend of the year. So it's unfortunate that we can't be together today with friends and comrades to enjoy the bands, the music, the speeches and the amazing atmosphere. But there will be a lot of little big meetings happening across the communities in Durham, so watch out for them. As the Member of Parliament for the City of Durham, I am so proud that the gala takes place in my constituency, and it's an honour to represent the wonderful, proud and resilient folk who live here. This past year has been so tough for too many people, but I'll continue to do my best to serve them and to hold this government to account. Next year, we hope the gala will go, and I've just found out that it's going to be dedicated to all our incredible key workers that have been there for us throughout this pandemic. So if you can, chip in and give a little support. Join up, become a Mara, and let's make 2022 really, really special.
So, what did we think? I think she deserves a round of applause there.
Absolutely. I think Mary's fantastic MP, and I'm just such a pleasure to work with her in Parliament. And the way she spoke up the other day for Gypsy, Roman and Traveller community, because of the way this police bill will destroy marginalised communities or make them even more marginalised. Well done, Mary. Fantastic. Proud to know her. Proud to work with her.
Yeah,
she's a hell of a constituency MP, I'll tell you that. She's always doing something.
I can imagine that, yeah.
She was the same when she was a councillor, though. She's always been like that, and and the thing is, it's really weird to know her as an MP now, because like Mary's so much fun, and I guess that's not really what people assume of MPs. They shouldn't, because all MPs are fantastic. The ones I know, anyway. But she's wonderful, and she's shown that she's done a really good job, and she hasn't sort of backed down from any argument that is really important. Like you say, you know, she came out fighting against the bill because the GRT community would just being, you know, completely battered down, and it was horrendous. So yeah, well done, Mary. That's great. Let's keep it going. Let's hope we win.
And I hope next year, when we're celebrating the work of care workers and crucial people like that, we also think a bit further ahead on the health service. Now, I'll defend the health service till the cows come home, against privatisation, against atomisation, and all the horrible things that are being done to it by this government. And I'm sure everybody on this call would. But we've got to go a stage further. If you think of the size of the gala, it's hundreds of thousands of people, maybe 200,000 there last year. At some point in their lives, probably third, maybe more, are going to need some form of social care at some point in their lives. And as soon as you mention social care, people get scared. They're scared how they're going to do it, scared if they're going to get enough, scared if they're going to have to pay for it. And you've got a lot of families, middle-aged couple, thought they were doing okay, both in work, suddenly find they've got to pay for their adult kids' university education, and they've got to pay for the care of older relatives or give some support for them. And it's the pressure and the stress on them is incredible. And so I think we've got to return or keep the policy that we had in our manifesto in 2019 of a national care service on the same principles as the National Health Service. And if anybody says to me, that's really expensive, that's going to cost too much, I'd say, well, actually, yes, it is expensive. And at the moment, that cost is being borne by working class communities and families, and particularly by women who are giving up jobs and careers in order to care for those that deserve and need care and support. We've got to change it. And I think this has to be an incredibly unifying campaigning point for the whole Labour movement. And I think we should push that.
There you go. There's your barnstorming big meeting speech for the day.
Well, that's what I would have said today.
Ex-mining communities are greatly affected by this, because where you had mining families stuck together in the same villages, so
Correct.
They would look after the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are we going to swap names again?
About that.
Blipped out for a second.
Where now a lot of people moved away, so families are split, the families moved away for work. We have a greater elderly population who are reliant on social care, and we have a council that is underfunded by the government, really disgracefully. So we have elderly people in lots of cases who are sat there with no care.
I totally get that, Heather. And in my own constituency, which is very different in many ways, in the ward in which I live, there is about 25 to 30% population turnover every year. And so, and it's all because of house prices, rents and all that. And that means the extended family network, it does not practically exist to help people. It's just not there because they can't afford to stay in the area. They move away. And that is not unique to London. That happens, I'm sure, in Durham. It certainly happens in Newcastle, Birmingham, Manchester, and so on. And whilst we want to change the whole housing system, of course, I think the priority has to be to get a care system that does ensure everybody gets cared for. And also, while we're on with it, what about the pay levels of people that do social care work? I mean, if you think about it, it's incredibly responsible. Somebody who's a carer is caring for somebody that we value and love, one of our relatives. And it's a life and death situation, the way they're looked after. And they're on minimum wage or living wage if they're lucky. Well, that's not right. Absolutely not right. So we've got a campaign for that as well. And also ending the idea that local authorities can hand over all their care to private care companies who I don't like and don't trust. There's no reason at all why care shouldn't be completely a public service, as the National Health Service should also be a public service. So I think if we make the theme about care next year, let's bring all that in. So we're demanding as well as defending.
I think that's absolutely right, isn't it? Sorry, Heather, you continue on.
Care workers are very underestimated, the work that they do. It's a great responsibility. You're right, Jeremy. Having gone through it a couple of years ago when we had carers coming to my mum's, it really brought it home. I hadn't realised just how badly those people were treated. Even having to phone and use their own phone, so they're having a bigger phone bill because they've got to phone in and say where they are, how long it's going to take them. They can travel from, they'll have one job in one village, then they have to travel 3 miles down the road to another town. They're paying the mileage, then they have to come back to that village again. It's just, and then they get 10 minutes to make somebody something to eat, a cup of tea, make sure they're all right and comfortable, and get out again. If that elderly person is ill or needs anything different, then usually the carer will not leave, because they are what they say they are. They are carers. But that means they're late at the next call. So the next person is sat there waiting. We need to look at this very, very deeply.
I did a meeting with Merseyside Pensioners Action Group on this the other day, and they were saying exactly what you were saying, Heather. And the number of times I hear it, I hear it from constituents as well as care workers, that at the end of the day, they're so worried about individual clients, they go back and see them in their own time, just to check they're all right. Well, they're wonderful people. They're doing a great job. That should be recognised. But the pressure, these sort of 10 and 15-minute visits, not paid for the travel time between them and all that, it's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Let's change it.
My mother's carers, 2 years on, are still in touch with me. They became family to us in that time they were with us. And that's what we have to recognise. What would we want our family to be paid? How would we want them to be looked after?
Yeah,
absolutely.
A few people have mentioned in the comments about Ken Loach's film, Sorry We Missed You, of which Heather is one of the stars of that film. And I think it goes a long way because, you know, on this show, we do try and reach an audience who aren't necessarily engaged in politics. We know a lot of people, as we all do, who go, I'm not interested in politics. So entertainment, you know, we've talked about this on the show a few times, films, music, poetry can be a way to sort of spread that message. And that film by Ken Loach detailed how difficult and how awful it is for care workers. And I would hope that we can get that film out there even more and get people to watch it, because where Daniel Blake for me was dark, it had moments of light in it and moments of hope. Sorry We Missed You for me was just bleak from the beginning to the end, and that is the life of a care worker. You know, they're in it because they want to care for people, but nobody's caring for them. And then you've got people who are carers who don't get paid anything because it is the responsibility of the woman in the house to look after elderly or sick relatives. And that's a societal issue that we're still working on. Obviously, the Women's Banner Group will always continue to try and fight against that sort of systemic issue and the patriarchal society that we're still living under, because care does disproportionately affect women. And these are huge issues, and it just feels like they just get completely forgotten about. It's like really far down on the list of priorities, get Brexit done, number one, and so many other irrelevant things before that. But this affects so many people. Sorry, Heather.
You know what got me? Sorry we missed you. As far as the carer was concerned, it showed you how it involved the whole family. Yeah. It wasn't just, as important as it was, about the woman. It was about the whole family. What the work that woman was doing and how long she was having to be out of the house for very little pay, what it did to her children. And I think that was the difference. We tend to forget that what we all do affects everybody else. But when you have somebody who's so strained at work like that, it's bound to affect the rest of the family.
Yeah.
This is this whole section here. This is what the gala's about a lot of the time to me. Now it might have seemed that we're talking about the Miners Gala. It might seem like we've digressed, but this is where the political discussions go on. These normal after the gala or on the field, and we're having political discussions like this one. That's what it's all about. And also, isn't it lovely to hear people? There's I haven't said particularly much in this section, but isn't it lovely to hear three people with passion in politics? And I think that's something that's been missing for this past few years since 2019. There's been a real passion missing in politics, a passion for caring about people, and a real heartfelt sense of it. And I think that's what we miss from the speeches of the gala. So I want to ask each of you, do you have a particular speech that you've heard at the Durham Miners Gala that really hit home and really made a difference? And a few people have already mentioned this in the comments. Lynn Gibson said Jeremy Corbyn's speech, yours in 2015, made her join the Labour Party. I think I may have got the year wrong there, but so she joined the Labour Party because of that passion. So let's go. Jeremy, do you have a favourite speech that you've heard, or any that are particularly memorable for you?
It's almost invidious to try and find one, actually, because there's so many so good. I remember being totally bowled over and moved by Laura Pidcock's speech at the gala in 2019. But one that really did move me and a lot of other people was Matt Rack, the Fire Brigade Union General Secretary. I know Matt very well, and I've known him for a long, long time. And I was at Grenfell the day after the fire with him and the firefighters and so on. And these were people that were in tears because they couldn't save lives. When they tried to do everything, but the firefighters just in tears telling me, there was a family in there and I couldn't get them out. I failed in my duty. Of course they hadn't failed in their duty. They'd done everything they could. And Matt described all of that so brilliantly that day. And I think it just gave everyone that sense of solidarity. And if you think about firefighters' care and support for communities and for each other is exactly the same as miners caring and supporting each other down a pit in a place of danger where their safety relies totally on their solidarity with each other. And that's how the fire brigade works. And I thought his speech was just incredible. I mean, there have been so many wonderful speeches at galas, it's hard to pick them up. Tony Benn, what a legend. Can never forget Tony Benn. What an absolute legend. And his speech is where he would sort of bring together socialist history, socialist principles, and put them all in a beautiful, popular way. Was what an incredible communicator, because politics is not for the elite. Politics is actually everyday life. I mean, people say to me they're not political. I say, yeah, you are. You're political. You make choices. You make decisions. That is politics. The politics isn't whether X is a councillor or Y is not a councillor. Politics is the politics of everyday life. It's your housing choices. It's your school choices. It's what opportunities you've got. It's what you do to support people. And I just think that the gala has developed in such a brilliant way that those principles of solidarity that won so much for the miners and the mining community are there. And I've got a plate above my desk in my office of all the pits that existed in Durham from 1947 until the 1990s. And it's a huge plate with the name of every single pit on it. So long may the Gala survive, and long may those principles behind it survive. And long may we also campaign for people in different jobs now, different industries, different work patterns, to join a union, and the unions to keep their members, whether the members are in work or not. So the unions become a social force in our society, not just a workplace force, because that's our strength. Their strength, the other side, is control of newspapers, control of news values in the media. It's investment decisions of big companies. That's their power. Our power is us.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. I think we'd all agree with that on this call here. So, Heather, do you have a particular favourite? By the way, we've moved again on the screen, so people are pretending to be different people again. That's all right.
How are you today, Heather? Are you me again, Heather?
Yes, she is.
She was for a second.
So that's all right.
That's okay. We'll be okay. I'm fixing it now. See, we are quite a. We don't have people working for us. We're just volunteers doing this. So yeah, expect the unexpected when it comes to our stream. Heather, any speeches that have really stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, the one that Jeremy's just spoke about, definitely I was crying. I cried my heart out at that. And anybody who didn't has no heart at all, to my mind, because Matt really spoke from his heart and he spoke from experience. But I think there's two different types of speakers for me. There's the oomph and the buff and of Dennis Skinner, which was brilliant. Loved Dennis. He could bring in all sorts of things in different ways. And then there was Tony Benn, who was the more sort of quiet, casual, but still had this power, this stance about him. Then there's the Jeremy Corbyns. I have to say, Jeremy, the first time I ever met you, you'll not remember me because I was quiet then. I
don't believe it.
I was about 16 or 17 when he used to come to Corbyn Hill and Gilsland, the women's schools. Can you remember? Yeah. We had some good times there, and you used to come and speak. Those are things that are bygone days. The schools that we had then with the Labour Party were magnificent. But my favourite speaker of late was Laura Pidcock. I thought she spoke brilliantly at that gala. She spoke for all of us. She spoke with passion, determination. She spoke as a woman, and she was proud of being a woman. She was proud. I think she epitomised the way we all feel, and I just hope she goes far. I know she lost her seat, but you don't give up in this game. I hate to call it a game, because it's not, it's people's lives, but you don't give up. But she was brilliant. She's got a long way to go.
I think I absolutely agree. Laura's doing brilliantly with the People's Assembly. And I spoke at a rally with her in London a couple of weeks ago. And she said, I'm not sure about this place. So what do you mean? She said, it's the first time I've been out of Durham for a year. And she was absolutely brilliant, of course, as she always is. And I keep in very close touch with her. I've got so much support and admiration for her. And I was so devastated when she lost her seat. But you know what? She's always going to be around. She's always going to be a leader. She's always going to be somebody that inspires. Yes. And I'm looking forward to working with her in the future. Well, we already are.
I happened to have a chat with Laura while I was there. We were walking together for a little period. So that was my first time out of Durham as well. So it was really good.
Yeah. It was nice, wasn't it? Did you enjoy the event?
It was lovely. Yeah, I was there representing my trade union, NASUWT, which was very nice, and it was nice to feel that that passion again. But obviously people are still worried, and then there was the anti-vaxxer rally that came after us, which was full of dull people. Actually, it was like ours was very vibrant and very noisy and very excited and very passionate, and theirs just seemed like, well, we're just going for a really boring walk. But never mind. It was very interesting. Laura, do you have a particular a speech that sticks out? Because we discussed this beforehand, and we mentioned all of those speeches that have been
I mean,
previously.
I don't have the luxury of having such a backstory of being at the gala that many times. Speeches for me will always be Jeremy Corbyn, Laura Pidcock, Matt Rack. Not necessarily in that order. I mean, God, yeah, I don't want to go over what everybody else has said. I completely agree. Matt Rack's speech was it was so emotional. It devastated me for so long. My sister works for the fire brigade, and she's trained to offer them support and mental health support, and she was supposed to go to London and speak to these firefighters about what they'd gone through. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to know the stories. I can't physically deal with it. I don't know how these people have. And so that was massive. That was just made me just devastated for the rest of the day, but in a really sort of, it came out as a positive because I got angry about stuff and I was like, right, that's it. And I guess I also have to mention Emily Thornberry's speech in 2018 from the platform, because she mentioned the Women's Banner Group and she mentioned Heather's mum. And it was just, that was the first year that, you know, we as the Banner Group had ever marched in the gala with our own banner, and just, it was so massive. Everything happened that year, and to be mentioned from the platform where, you know, all these huge forces of nature speak, it felt a bit much. And I was like, what? Why have they mentioned us? But then that just fed into the whole realizing what we'd done as women and what we'd achieved. So that was a speech that'll always stick with me as well, because it just sort of cemented what we'd done. I think up until that point we'd just gone, we do the next thing, we just get it done till we get there. And it wasn't until after that we stopped and went, oh my God, we've actually done this is huge, we should take a moment. So that speech as well. And yes, Laura Pidcock, I can't really say any more than absolutely unbelievable. You know, the standing ovations could have gone on for hours and hours after that speech. And Jeremy, you know, you are the reason most of the people I know got involved in politics. You're the reason that your speeches at the gala really gave people that sense of hope. And I'll be honest with you, that hope is getting dashed, that hope is going away. You were, and I don't like to put this on one person. I know there was a team behind you, and I know your policies and everything were well thought out, and it wasn't just you, but your speeches at the gala were so emotional and so exactly what normal working class people needed to hear to be accepted into the world of politics that they felt othered from for so long, that it really just developed this sense of hope. And I think that's just so sorely missing from the political environment, and it is something that we need to cling on to with every ounce of our being. Like Laura Pidcock said, speak up about this, about politics, talk about your politics in every single space, even the spaces where you feel uncomfortable, because we need to get our messages out there, because there's billions of us, there's a top 1%. They're the people who are making all the decisions for everybody else who don't get a say. Yeah, sorry, that ended up being a rant. I was going to make a quick one, sorry.
That was very good, thank you. It's all about, you're right, it's about hope and ideas. I mean, if you think, well, yes, we have hard times to pursue political things, but why do we do it? Because our society is so unequal. People are treated so badly. Why is it a working class kid born in a former mining village in Durham is likely to have a shorter life expectancy than a wealthy child born in Surrey or somewhere, you know? And then you take a bus ride across Glasgow, and the life expectancy from one side of Glasgow to the other drops by 15 or 20 years and then rises again as you get to the other side of Glasgow. What's that about? It's not just healthcare. It's housing, it's money, it's food, it's a whole lot of things. And then you look at those inequalities which COVID has shown up, look at those on a global scale. We've got to change things. You cannot go on just perpetuating inequality, which is all that Johnson and his cronies really want to do, and are doing big time under the cover of allegedly dealing with COVID. They're actually handing billions over to the wealthy.
I heard something today, a terrifying statistic. I was in a SEA meeting, so I'm the secretary of the North SEA branch, and in that meeting there was someone there.
Socialist Education Association, for those of us who don't know.
Educational, apparently.
Educational. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, and they said that a man born in Stockton, has the same life expectancy as a man born in Ethiopia. They have the same outcomes as a man born, and we know about the Ethiopian famine and how much that must have a long-term effect on their health. What an awful thing that people in our country have the same long-term health concerns as people who've been through such a terrible, awful famine. And that's where we are as a country at the moment. I think we need to really take stock of that and realise this, because I think people think everything's okay, but life expectancy is going down. It's going down in our local communities. And I'm sure I teach children at the moment who, people of the child, not necessarily the children I teach, but there'll be people of children who at the age of people I teach, who will have a short life expectancy because of what is going on in their home lives, because there are people in our schools who are eating out of bins. We know this.
Paul, I'm not leaving the call. I'm just plugging the phone in. Otherwise, I will be leaving the call. The battery.
We'll take that opportunity. We've got now a call for a short video from Dan Draper, who made the big meeting film, and Laura kindly pointed this out to Socialist Think Tank, that I am the only person who on this call who didn't star in that film. So that made me feel warm inside and very happy. I am an extra in the background. Laura recognised me from my walk. My walk was the walk of a drunk man. So anyway, so the big meeting film, Dan Draper, who's absolutely brilliant, and here he's going to talk about how he feels about the Durham Miners Gala, and then we're going to talk about how the Durham Miners Gala makes us feel.
So I first listened to the Durham Miners Gala in 2016. Ted Skinner was speaking, and we were making a documentary. To go up and do a bit of shooting, and I remember we got there about 7 in the morning, and by the time we got into the centre it was about 8 and it was packed. And my first impressions was seeing these the groups of bands, and they were all spotless. The instruments were spotless and gleaming, but a couple of them were also drinking cans of Strongbow at the same time, and just that contrast was, I don't know, I found it beautiful. I thought this is my type of place. We're gonna have a good day, and we did have a good day. And it stuck with me, those first impressions of the gala. And then about 3 months after that, actually it would have been a year after that, once we released the Dennis Skinner documentary, it played at Redhill's, Pitman's Parliament, and that was just electric. And those two things together, my first impressions of the gala and sort of feeling the history you do at Redhill's, and the community of people that were there, I thought there's obviously something special about this place that I would like to capture on film. And doing a bit of research, I seen that there was nothing really there in terms of sort of really fleshing it out and looking deep into the history and the culture of the event. So I just approached the DMA about making the documentary, and kindly they agreed, and that sort of started the journey, and we embarked on, which was a really fun thing to do in many ways. It was a hard shoot. We shot it on 15 cameras, obviously over the day. That's the thing with the gala, we had to get it nailed in one day, because if we messed up, there was no sort of doing any second takes. But yeah, the whole idea around the film was to sort of captured the gala in, you know, what it is. The gala's not static. You know, it's always moving. It's in many different places. So that was our sort of brief, is to try and get, you know, capture that essence of what it is, what the event is on film. And hopefully we did that in many ways. I always find it hard to describe the events to anyone who hasn't been. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I made the film, because I think any film or any synopsis for a film that you can't really, you know, describe or get across, it's always, I think that's always a worthy excuse to make a film, because there's something there, there's poetry there that sort of goes beyond sort of words, and that's, I think that's what the Gala is, and hopefully we sort of captured that a little bit in our film type thing. But I was honoured to make the film. I was honoured to be allowed. I was honoured to be trusted by people from that community to speak with us. And I feel like I've actually made genuine friends from the area. And I would actually call Durham sort of my second favourite city in England now, outside Liverpool. I love it. I love the people. And I'll be going to the Durham Miners Gala every year until the day I die now. So yeah, I just can't wait for 2022. Thanks.
Brilliant.
Let's hope it is the biggest ever. So like I think Dan really summed up that you can't really describe the gala, but you know, I think we can probably describe how it makes you feel. And I suppose for me, I always feel like I'm part of something a lot bigger than myself, and I often feel that anyway. But it's that physical nature of the fact that we're all together, we're all the same. And I love that Alan Margam always says the stars of the gala, the people who are important to the gala, the VIPs, are not the people on the balcony. They're the people who walk past the balcony. They're the people, it's everyone. Everyone's a VIP at that gala, and the people on the balcony are there to pay respects to those VIPs who are coming past, which is a really lovely way to think of it. But Heather, you know, you've got a lot of passion about the gala. How do you feel about it? How does it make you feel? Well,
for me, you know about my three words. Jeremy, I don't think you do, but when you live in a mining community, it's for me, the best way to describe it is three words. One word is underground, where the men rely on each other for their lives. The second word is where the women and the children are above ground. And as small as you are, you know how dangerous it is for your father, your uncle, your granddad to be down that big dark hole so many miles out under the sea. You just can't believe it. You've seen your father come home in soaking wet because he's been working in terrible conditions, where when he took his pit socks off, if your mum stood them up long enough and let them dry, it would be like a plaster cast. So that was our second word. I knew because my grandfather had been killed at the pit. I saw me step-grandfather die of pneumoconiosis. My friend's father, when she was pulled out of school because our dad was pulled out of the pit dead. So we all knew the tensions, but you got on with it. You got on with life. The women worked hard. Then there was our day. There was the big meeting. That was the third word, and still is the third word, because it's Durham Day. It's our day. And that brings me to, Paul, you'll have to tell us to shut up now because I get so passionate now. From being little, I went to the gala. My mum would bake for days and days before, and my dad would take us through 5 o'clock in the morning. You could take the car down on the field. The women's section, the women's councils, the women's advisory committee had the big marquee with the teas in. So my mum would be working in there most of the day and I'd be playing outside. But by God, when it came to time for the speeches, you had to be sitting down and you had to be quiet and you had to listen. And that's where I learned a lot of my politics, to be honest, apart from at home. But we always used to, in our colliery, we were, in most collieries it was anyway, there would be bus loads. In fact, the colliery would empty on that day. It was burglars' holiday because Easing would be empty. Bus loads of us. So we'd get on the buses with a band, and then so far up the main street, the buses would stop because I thought it was a great tradition, and still is, that the buses stop beside where the elderly people live in the collieries. The band get off and play a tune for the old folks. And this day we stopped at what was then an aged miners old folks home, elderly person's home. And there was my great aunt standing, waiting to hear the band. my Aunt May Barker. And my mum and me got off the bus to say hello to her. The band played. My Aunt Meg grabbed me mother. They were doing a jig in the middle of the main street. And my Aunt Meg shouting, Aunt May shouting, "It's Durham Day today, it's our day. You can do what you like today. You can stand on your heat if you want." And that always sticks in my head because that epitomises everything about Durham Day. It's about when families didn't own cars and couldn't afford to get on the bus, and they walked from other villages, walked for miles to come and meet up with their families, not just the blood relatives, but their mining families, their communities, the ones that Jeremy talked about. Through the trade union, you built your community. And I always say today's RMT and fire brigade unions are yesterday's NUM, and we have to fight alongside those people to build up that brotherhood and sisterhood, which is what the big meeting's all about. Our third world, our day, meeting up. You never got lost at big meeting day. There was a lost man's tent, but nobody got lost because you just knew. You looked for your banner and you sat there. I put a picture on Facebook today, my dad, 1931, sitting on the floor in front of the banner. The only thing that's different, they wouldn't dare leave all the brass instruments that were on that photograph. But what a day to be seeing people that you've never seen from one year to the next. And the good thing is, and I'm inviting you now, Jeremy, next year, mind, I hope you're staying over on the Saturday night, because about 3 years ago, I started to, must be 5 years now, started to organise a gathering of like-minded people on the Saturday night. And the last one we had was in the same pub as we've been in the year before. And when we were in there, I asked the manager if we could have a bit sing-song, because we had somebody with a guitar and we had somebody with good voices. So he said, yes, as long as you don't bother the other people. There was only 4 of the tables full, but they were quite happy. I went round and asked them all, they were happy. And then I got the megaphone out and asked people to be quiet because we were going to sing. And I have to say, there were a few members of the Shadow Cabinet in there that night singing along with us. I won't mention any names though. But we were just having a great night, and the manager decided that he should throw us out. Well, he should ask us to leave. In fact, John was told that, that's my John, was told that if he didn't go back and tell us all to quieten down, we couldn't have any more drinks. So somebody shouted, one out, all out. So Harley, who had his pipes, played us out with the bagpipes and played us all the way around Durham to the next pub. And that ended off a day that had been just fantastic. That's Durham Day. The colour, the noise, the laughter, the tears. And then just to finish it off, it's the 70th anniversary of the Eason Colliery Pit disaster this year. And our banner would have been draped, as is the one of Miners' banners when there's a death in the family. The family, that's what we have to remember. So I hope I've given you some people dancing down the streets packed, and yes, people had a drink in that, but just good fun all together. I could go on all night about it. It's our day, isn't it?
Yeah. Mic off there. I do have video footage of that incident. So yeah, it was a good night. Jeremy, what does it mean to you? What does the gala mean? How does it feel?
A celebration of the strength of communities, a celebration of loyalty, a celebration of all the principles of the labour movement in a totally unapologetic way. It's not turning up saying, sorry, we're here. It's saying, no, this is our day. This is our city. This is our movement. These are our demands. And I think it's so empowering. And, you know, I go to lots of political meetings all the time, obviously. I remember walking around Newcastle the day after the gala, and the number of people that just stopped to talk about what they'd seen and heard the day before. And they weren't necessarily super political people, but they'd been there because it was part of their lives and their community. And so, in a sense, it reaches out and inspires people so much. People learn an awful lot from random meetings with each other, the stalls and all that goes with it. It's just a fantastic event. And I hope next year is really, really good. And this corona thing, well, obviously it's affected lots of people in different ways. To some extent, because of doing so much on Zoom, some people have got to events who would never normally go to them, either because they can't travel or unable to, care problems, which we talked about earlier. And so there's got to be a way of remembering that everything we do in the future has got to involve everybody, whether they can get along or not. It's not simple, but there's a lot of people we've got to keep involved. By the time next year comes around, if this wretched government stays in office, there's going to be a lot more people not working, a lot of people working for lower wages, a lot of people on worse conditions, a lot of people who are going to need a trade union more than ever. So it might be an idea to emphasize union recruitment while we're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm quite prepared to believe that a lot of the very large numbers of people that come there are not necessarily trade union members, because they're working in industries that are not organized or in small businesses that need to be organized. So it's all about that. Because it's only the strength of unions and people doing stuff together, anything will ever be achieved.
Now, Laura, you and Heather and the Women's Banner Group, who we're going to be hearing from in a little bit from Lynn as well, you managed to bring people together, didn't you? And you managed to have that day. What was it like to have, and I know Heather could have told us this as well, but she's already told us those amazing stories, so you get to tell this one. What was it like, going through the whole thing of like taking that banner out for the first time, doing a speech in the market square, having your banner blessed, all those things?
Genuinely can't even talk about it without filling up. Just listening to Heather there talk about her past and all the things that were so important kind of makes me realize that what we decided to do was so important, and it's a big responsibility. It's huge. Women's stories, women's history do get left behind, don't get written. And you've got the likes of Heather and Amman Myrtle and so many more who did truly epic things. And I think, like I said earlier on, it was just like I had this idea and I met people who were able to help me achieve this idea. So we did the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. It's like, yep, great, we're building, it's going to be amazing. And it wasn't until Gala Day, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Massively. I didn't get a chance to sort of accept what we were doing until that moment, and there's actually a scene of it, of myself and Lynn and Heather and Mary Turner, who stitched together the first community banner, who's incredible as well, walking past the county hotel. That was the moment. We were at the county hotel, we had our band, we stood there, we showed our banner proudly, we were women, we were all women, and we went past and I just went, oh my God, we've done it. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, because it's not, it's not one person, it's not even one lifetime. This is decades and decades and decades of women's struggles, and it just felt really, really massive. The 2018 Durham Miners Gala will be one of the most important days of my entire life. It was the most special, and I still can't even believe it sometimes. Like we walked, so we got our banner through and it was such a big deal. And then me and Lynn, who you'll hear from later, who's like my partner in crime for the banner group, who's just the best organizer in the entire world, pelted it back up because we'd managed to get tickets to go onto the balcony, and people were like, oh, are you gonna go and meet all these famous people? I was like, no, I just want to see NASUWT walk past. And that was the moment that you saw at the beginning of the show where the NASUWT band went past and played Sweet Caroline. I'm on the top giving it this with me clacker. And it was just like so much. And then we had to run up to the cathedral to get the bat, and it was just, again, one thing after another that day, and it was so overwhelming. Not to mention that Dan's film crew were following us the whole day, and it was blisteringly hot. It was, I'll never forget it. It was so surreal, and I still can't quite believe we did it, but we're still here and we're still going, and now we've got a beautiful silk banner which is named Myrtle after Heather's mum, and Heather's mum's on it, and so is Heather, rightfully so, and it's beautiful. And she hasn't even been out yet, not properly. She's been to some funerals of really special women, which I think is a good way for her to go out and be shown. I think it's ideal, but she's never been to a gala yet. So 2022, watch the space. Myrtle's going to come for you all, and you're going to be amazed by how beautiful she is. And again, it's just a responsibility, isn't it? It's amazing, but it's a responsibility, and we've just got to keep going. So,
now, speaking of 2022, I've got some sort of almost confirmed rumours that Durham County Council, which are now controlled by the Conservatives in a coalition with other groups, even though the Labour Party are the largest party, so are going to cut funding for the Durham Miners Gala, and they've always supported the Durham Miners Gala and so on. So that's one of the cuts they're going to make. And I wonder how the people who voted for the not Labour, it seems to have been a block not Labour vote, but anyway, I wonder how they feel about that. But speaking of that, it is a very fiercely political event, and we've had comments in the build up to this event by people saying, hey, well, these socialists are even trying to politicise the gala now, which is quite ridiculous because it's always been a fiercely political event. But I've got a message now from Ken Loach on that, and then I'm going to talk about the politics of that, and then I'd like to finish off with what Laura was talking about with that message from Lynn. So Ken Loach has asked us to read this. He wasn't able to record a message for us, but he's asked us to read this, and he said, I am proud to be a Mara of the Gala. I cannot think of a more inspiring sight than the many banners being marched through the streets of Durham. It is inspiring because it is a demonstration of our collective strength. Most demonstrations are about protest. The Gala is not a protest. It is the working class on the march, organised and strong. It is an assertion of the independent interests of working class people, under attack now as fiercely as ever. Our problem has been we have had leaders who betrayed that struggle. From Ramsay MacDonald in the 20s to Kinnock, Blair and Brown to the wretched Starmer today. They have all consciously delivered working people bound and gagged to those who exploit them. The victories we have won in the past have been or are being lost, as the continuing dismembering and privatisation of the NHS shows. So next year, when we march together again, let's determine that we will use our strengths to fight back as never before. And when we say solidarity, we really mean it. Solidarity. KL.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Good man, Ken.
Good thing he didn't mince his words there.
Yeah, I don't know whether I did Ken justice there, but I did a little speech. I've done one of Connolly's speeches before, and but yeah, maybe my accent was more suited to the Connolly one than the Loach one. But I hope I did him justice there. But do we have any comments on what we were saying and basically the politics of the gala?
I just want to say one thing. I think it's really disappointing that the current councillors of Durham County Council have decided to make this huge outlandish statement that they won't fund it anymore, because in actual fact they may give a little help here and there, but it's the Maras now who fund the Durham Miners Gala. And so whatever point they're trying to make, it is going to backfire massively, because let's face it, the Maras are the working class, the Maras are the people who want to help and get involved. And I strongly believe that we as a collective and people who join the Maras and sign up to that and give whatever they can will continue to grow the Durham Miners Gala every year and make it what it is. And I'm excited for I might be disappointed for this year, but 2022, I strongly believe, is going to show the strength of feeling that the Maras and all of us have got, and it's going to be huge.
This person that says the gala is becoming politicised, have they ever been to one?
Well, that's the question.
I mean, you wouldn't have to be there very long. You know, like half an hour would be quite enough to realise roughly what it's all about, wouldn't it? And just listen to the music as well, and the pride of the music.
Yeah. Exactly.
We should never be ashamed of our politics. We should be proud of it and proud of what we demand. And so, I mean, the point Ken makes about health privatisation, I don't know if you remember back as far as 2019, I challenged Johnson on secret talks with the US on healthcare and American health companies taking over our NHS. He said it was all a lot of nonsense I was talking. It was all Russian propaganda. I mean, I've no idea how the Russians got involved in this. I'm still struggling with that one. But I've now got a major GP surgery in my own constituency run by an American healthcare company called Centene. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. There's 44 of them now around the country. And so let's make that the theme of what we do, is defend and extend our health service and our care systems. That's what it has to be. The other nice thing about the gala is that it's never been afraid to be international as well.
Yes.
Where you've had speakers on anti-apartheid movement, you've had speakers from South Africa in the past, you've had speakers from different countries, and had that sense of solidarity around the world, because that is essential. Because the same battles are fought in lots of countries, and we need to be supporting each other when they're fighting those battles. And the principles of peace, not war, are so important as well. This week, all British troops are at last leaving Afghanistan, apart from the 450 who died there, and all the other thousands of Afghan Americans and so on that died there. We have to ask ourselves a question: what was all that about? What was achieved? War doesn't end in joy. War ends in lots of deaths.
For me, I want to go back to what Laura was saying a couple of minutes ago when she was saying about when we marched past the hotel, the county, and we were all together. I can remember Kat Cray and Michelle Rogers from the RMT. I think Michelle had just been elected the first woman president of the RMT. And they were marching alongside us. And I said, come on, link arms with us, join us. And I said, but we're not part of the women's banner group. And I said, but you are. We are all.
Yeah.
And that's what we need more of within our party. Our party. It's our party. And I am frustrated at the minute because this is the first opportunity I've had to say really publicly just how disgruntled I am with what's going on in our party. And I'm a little bit upset because they haven't suspended us yet. But apart from that, I am totally unhappy with the way things are going. I'm sad that I have to say that the party has changed, and one of the most principled people who I have ever had the privilege to know is with us tonight, and that's Jeremy Corbyn, and he has never changed. I said earlier that I had first heard you speak, Jeremy, when I was about 16, and I can tell you that man has never changed the way he believes in socialism, in fairness, in justice. Overused words, I know they are, but they are what we believe in. Social justice, fairness, equality, and that's for everybody. Race, colour, creed, religion, whatever. And that's what our party's always been about. Always been about. And that's what it should always be about. It should be about fighting on the streets for the NHS, because that is one of the biggest things, that was one of the best things, if not the best thing, the Labour Party ever did. So for me, we need to be out there pushing that. I think as well, I've forgotten what I was going to say, but Oh yes, politics in the gala. Jeremy, you said earlier about, somebody saying to you, and you were telling them politics is in everything. I remember once being in the Miners Welfare Hall and this man saying, I didn't bother with politics, man. It's not me. It's got nothing to do with me. And I said, what's that pint of beer you're holding? What do you mean, like? I says, well, where does the tax go that you pay on that pint of beer? Oh, shut up, man, Heather. I says, that's politics. That's politics. And the gala is our politics. It's what we want. And those speakers on that platform are representing us. They're telling the world what we want. And it's an opportunity for people to learn politics.
It's interesting though that the DMA haven't necessarily always stuck to the fact that it's Labour Party though. So there's movements outside the Labour Party that have always been involved in the Durham Miners Gala, and certain Labour leaders such as Blair was never invited to speak there because his politics didn't align with the Durham Miners Association. And I think we need to remember that outside of that, we've got like Jeremy's Peace and Justice project, and we've got Socialist think tank that you can become a member of for free if you want, and get involved in the discussions that we're having around how we change politics. You can contribute if you want as well, but we're Socialists, so there's no hierarchy in access or anything like that, like there is in some things. But so you can.
Can I stop you there? Can I stop you there? Because Tony Blair was invited, but he didn't come.
Really? Oh well.
Yeah, Heather's right. That's what I was told, that he was invited several times, but wasn't able to get there for some.
He did a Kinnock.
That's interesting. Well, there's me.
If it's not written down, it'll be in my book, and when it's published, it will be the truth.
You need to do that, and also you need to watch Heather's interview for a bit of truth as well. But anyway, there's lots of truth in there. So like it's always been this really political event, but I think at the moment, do we feel like there's more excitement in politics? Like Westminster politics is all well and good, but I don't think it's going to create, at the moment, it felt like it was going to a few years ago, it was going to create a big change. And at the moment, Westminster politics seems like it's slowed down, and it isn't really going to. There's an inertia there. They want it to stay the same, but outside of that, I think we can make a lot of noise, and we can be a lot of. We can bring people together in a different way. We don't have to be separate on these things. Like, is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think it is.
It'll stay the same if we don't have people in there who are shouting for what we want, and there aren't enough people there who are doing that. Not on our side. They're there, but there aren't enough. There are those people who are minds, there are MPs who are speaking up, but there are not enough.
But there's more exciting speeches, and so at the People's Assembly last week, there were so many exciting speeches, and most of the most exciting ones didn't come from necessarily MPs. There was all sorts of people who can do all sorts of things. Jeremy, would you agree that like there's a lot of energy outside?
The energy is there in communities. It is there in campaigns. And that's what we've got to be encouraging, because there is a sort of feeling of disempowerment, and we're disempowered by the media, disempowered to some extent by the way history and education is conducted. What we need to be doing is empowering people, and that's where the gala is an empowerment of people, because it brings people together, realizing there's actually lots of people that think more or less the same way as you do on all the big issues, and we have to be doing that campaigning, and that's what brings about change. I mean, all of us have mentioned the NHS many times during this discussion we've been having. Did the NHS happen because Aneurin Bevan was Health Secretary in 1945 and pushed it through? In part, yes. But did it really happen because of those visionaries in mainly the mining communities in South Wales, in Durham, in Scotland, and so on, that had the idea of a collective approach to a community? Tredegar had a health service. the miners ran a health service in Tredegar. Nye, in a sense, copied that and made it into the National Health Service. It didn't all happen in Parliament. In fact, as Tony Benn used to say, Parliament was usually the last place to grasp an argument. It happened everywhere else before. And so it is about how you build up that kind of pressure and you give people confidence in doing it. But you know, so when you win a struggle of any sort at a local level, it changes everything. I mean, what was it now, 11 years ago, they came after my local hospital. They wanted to close the A&E department, which would have effectively meant the hospital would be ineffective and be closed. And I called a public meeting to oppose it. Hundreds of people came. We built up a huge campaign. Thousands went on a marches. The whole dispute went on for, I suppose, almost 2 years. We won. Last year, that A&E department attended 95,000 patients. Now, but in winning that, everybody was felt much stronger and much more emboldened in everything else they took on. And you could copy this all over the country when people have won something. No, you don't win every dispute you go into, but you lose every dispute if you don't engage in it. And so it is about empowering people, and that's why I hope we can do something on all these issues next year. Sorry, Heather.
It's not always about the winning either, is it, though? Because there's not many fights that we have really won. But we've stood, and I think that's the importance.
Yep.
That also gives you some feeling that you can do something. There is something. You don't just have to sit at home and think, oh, it's all just going to happen. You can be proud that you've stood there. We fought for our local maternity hospital. It was closed. They still closed it. That we knew that every intention closed it. But you don't go quietly. Never go quietly.
Sure.
Lovely comment from Mia Mantri here, who's a regular viewer of the show, and she says, "I know I used to feel I was alone in the way I feel, only to find so many people have similar thinking to me on a variety of issues. It's just we don't know of each other's existence." And I think that's about solidarity, isn't it? And the kind of solidarity that you can gain from Durham Miners Gala. What I want to do now is, I know we've had a lovely time and we're running short of time now. What I'd like to do is just have some closing comments from everyone. If there's any message you'd like to give, maybe about the gala or absolutely anything else, please do that going around the panel. Laura, I'm going to ask you to do the special thing on membership, etc. And I'm going to come to Heather first, and then what we'll do is we'll listen to Lynn, who'll be our last speech, and then we'll say goodbye. So yeah, okay, Heather. Any closing comments?
Laura, you know I'm only on water. You think I've been on wine because I thought you said Laura first. Closing comment. Solidarity, stand together. That's the important thing. We can all disagree. I've lived with John Wood for 50 years. But we still don't agree on everything. But we still best mates. The goal is that we stick together, we work at whatever we want. And that's what we all need to do to work for a better society. If we fragment, society fragments, and that's why the Tories are winning. We've got to stand together and do what they do. Don't keep throwing each other out and, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Do what they do. Let's stand up and say, to pot with all of you, we don't care. We are going to stand up for what we believe in. And the gala is the place that epitomises all of that, brings us all together.
Thanks. Jeremy, I'll come to you next.
Our movement is about achieving things, is about mobilising, is about unifying, is about health, about education, about housing, about world peace, about environment, about human rights. It's all of those things. And we support people, however unpopular it might seem at that moment, because you've got to do what is the right thing. But if all we do is turn on each other, and start expelling people, throwing people out, suspending people, getting rid of people, all it ends up doing is weakening all of us and weakening our movement. And so it is, as Heather quite rightly says, about marching down that road together. When there's a strike on, there's only two sides to a picket line. There's the right side and there's the wrong side. There's no debate about it. That's what it is. It's that dividing line. And I've been through many strikes as a union organizer before I became an MP. And what you found was an incredible sense of unity of people who quite often didn't agree on very much. They then realized they were all in it to try and achieve something together. And it's that sense of solidarity. So the gala is the most amazing occasion because it's the spirit of the mining community. It's the spirit of the struggle of the miners, the hardship, the horror, the danger, the accidents, the deaths. It's all of that. And it is about making sure the next generation doesn't have to go through exactly the same struggles, but we make the world fit for the next generation. That means housing, jobs, education, clean air, clean water, good health. It means all of those things, but above all, it means hope and inspiration. And so my passion, and I'll finish on this because Paul will tell me off otherwise, and I'll go on too long. It is also about the education our children get and the history that they learn. When I said at the gala one year that I wanted our children to learn the history of the trade unions and the history of the labour movement in schools, Theresa May had only caught a little bit of the speech because she clearly wasn't watching it properly. And she then had to go at me in Parliament about saying I was going to set up an education system to teach kids how to go on strike. I mean, she hadn't listened to anything I said at all, because what I was doing was saying, actually, the real history of this country, the real history of every country, is the history of ordinary people doing extraordinary things and the lives of people that have suffered so much. There is an incredible radical history all over this country. It's just waiting to be published and uncovered. And that surely is something we can all do. The gala has uncovered the history of Durham, the real history of Durham. Well done. July 2022. Let's make it the biggest ever. We can do it, you know. We're going to have to pay for ourselves through marriage, but that's all right.
Wow. You know, the thing that makes me a little bit sad about all that is we've got a lot of work to do, don't we? Because someone who believes that was defeated in an election by someone who does racial slurs and does, like, you know, homophobic slurs and things like that. But let's do that work together, because one day someone like you could end up leading this country, Jeremy, and I'd be delighted if that were ever the case. I wish it had been you. So thank you so much.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm as active.
Are you going to be Prime Minister again? You're going to go for Prime Minister again?
Jeremy.
There you go. That's an exclusive, isn't it?
You presented my mother with her award, and my mum was just starting to be ill when she got word that she was getting that award, and I'm not a believer in awards, mind, but my mother was. Anyway, she was over the moon, she was getting it. But when I said, you'd just been elected as leader, and I said, Mum, it's Jeremy Corbyn that's going to give it, my God, she could have won the lottery. It was like, we've been waiting for this man. We've been fighting for this man to be our leader. We've been looking for this for years. Mind, I don't normally build people up, Jeremy, so I'm just telling the truth. She'd been looking for that. There was a woman, 90-year-old, had been waiting for somebody all her life who would come along and give us justice, give us what was our right. And you came and you were vilified. But there's still those of us who are there, thousands, and I'm pleased to say the young ones, the young people that have come forward. They've got some energy, they've got some go. Absolutely. And thank God they're there.
Think Maya Angelou, you can knock me down with your lies, but still I rise.
I rise, yes.
Okay, Laura,
yes.
Follow that.
Aye, cheers. Thanks for that. I'm going to do the boring stuff because I can't beat that. I agree and second and listen back, listen to it again and do all of that. But in the meantime, please do like, share and subscribe all of Socialist Think Tank stuff. Find us on YouTube. Do press the bell so you don't miss any of our content. Tonight has been a fantastic show. It has made me feel loads better that I've missed the gala today. I feel like we've had a little mini gala here today. Also, please do sign up and become a Mara at, I think it's durhamminers.org. I'll drop the link in the chat later. Because the Maras fund the gala and we need to make sure that this gala keeps going and that it's going to be bigger and better every single year, because it is our voice, it's working class people, and it's so important. There's probably about 1 billion things I haven't said, but yeah, just find us, follow us, get involved. Yeah, we've got Jeremy on and Heather on and they're amazing and they're huge names, but they are no more important than any of you. So please do come on, your voice matters. We want you on the show. We have Origin shows. People have already said tonight that Heather and Jeremy both need to be on an Origin show. Heather's Origin show was so special, it's being clipped into 2 parts. She's got a part 1 and a part 2, so find that and watch it. I'm going to bug Jeremy until he comes back on the show and does an Origins interview for us. Also, JC O'Daly, spelled slightly differently, keeps asking what a Mara is. You need to Google what a Mara is. It's basically a Sunderland term. It means mate, friend, colleague, comrade. I'm taking that as a Sunderland lass. I know it's County Durham and the pit. It's Pitmatic basically.
Oh, she's got to say, Laura. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so become a Mara. Find that on the Durham Miners.
Sunderland was County Durham. Sunderland was County Durham.
It was County Durham. It was absolutely. And thank you so much to our guests tonight. It's been lovely. It has filled a hole that I was feeling today, not having the gala on. I would urge you all, because I know we have a video now coming up from Lynn Gibson, who's my partner in crime in the Women's Banner Group. Listen to what she's got to say, because the Women's Banner Group is something special. It is something different. It is for women, and it is about our solidarity and how we need to come together. It is not, we have many men who are involved, Paul's a member of the Women's Banner Group, and supporters and solidarity. So please stick around for that. It's very important and we'd love you to stay, and yeah, join in.
And in true Socialist Think Tank style, we've all swapped places again, which is really fun. So Jeremy's pretending to be Laura, Laura's pretending to be Heather, Heather's pretending to be Jeremy, but I'm just me because I wasn't in the film. But so what I'd like to say now is what we've got coming up. We've got something coming up from Lynn Gibson. Now, the reason the Durham Miners Gala is so special and the reason that we wanted Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister are linked. It's because he is like us and everyone is the same and everyone is equally as important. Now, lots of people will have heard of Lynn locally because she's an absolute legend in so many ways, but she isn't a huge name. She represents people who would come to the gala for years and years and years and would always come there with their families, because that's what the gala's about. Nobody's more important than anybody else. Everyone is the same. And that is the message that we need to get out into our communities right now. We need to say everyone is the same. There should be no hierarchy. There should be no people who are behaving and making decisions on behalf of us, on behalf of their friends, on behalf of billionaires, because it suits them. It should be all of us being treated equally, being treated fairly. And that's why we fought for a Labour-led government under Jeremy Corbyn. And that's why we'll continue to fight for equality all the way through our lives. And that's why socialists stick together. So let's make sure we do stick together. Listen to Lynn. Please, either Heather and Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on. Please feel free to dash off if you need to, because I know you've got very busy lives and what have you. Or you can stay till after the streams end and we'll have a little good night chat if you would like. But I'm going to put Lynn on now. And to our viewers, thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't get to read out your comments, but they were all on the screen throughout. They've been absolutely amazing, and we think the world of you. So please do become a member of Socialist Think Tank, and we will see you again very, very soon. We'll see you on Tuesday for Political Unmuted, and take care, everyone.
Hi everyone, I'm Lynn from the Women's Banner Group, and I'm absolutely honoured to be asked to speak on behalf of the group at this special Big Meeting Socialist Think Tank event. I think I can speak on behalf of everyone in the Women's Banner Group when I say that the Big Meeting is one of our favourite days of the year. It's certainly been my favourite day of the year for a very long time, and I've been attending the Big Meeting since I was a babe in arms. This year marks the 150th anniversary of the Durham Miners Gala, and we should have been proudly marching our new silk banner we fondly named Myrtle, commissioned in 2019 with funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund through the cobbled streets of Durham. Since its inception in 1871, the event has been an important date in the calendar of trade union and labour with a small L movement and the Labour Party movement since 1900. But it is also a festival of banners and brass music, which still captures the spirit of the Durham coalfield, despite the last pit closing in 1994. Back in November 2017, the Women's Banner Group was formed ahead of the International Year of the Woman, with a view to getting recognition in this annual event for the women of the Durham coalfields. For those still with us who support families like mine during the bitter 84-85 miners' strike, and for those who history has forgotten. It's so important to the Women's Banner Group that all women, particularly the women who played vital roles in the 84 strike, are remembered. Yes, there had been conflicts before the 84 strike, but this time, in an act of solidarity, the women left the kitchen sink, and life for them would never be the same as they stood alongside their men. One of the great legacies of the strike was that it politicised a great number of women. Women's presence on the picket lines has been acknowledged, but their story of defiance, their skill in raising funds, standing in battle with the men, running free cafes, marching and organising rallies all over Europe, speaking in favour of the strike, despite many of these women having never stood on the platform before, is generally overlooked, and working class women are seldom recorded in history books. At the time the Women's Banner Group formed in November 2017, I was supporting the Durham Miners Association on their Red Hills Appeal Advisory Board for their recently successful National Lottery Heritage Fund application. I made links between the Women's Banner Group and the Durham Miners Association to get the group affiliated as the first ever all-female banner group to the Durham Miners Association, and the first female banner to be blessed in the cathedral on Big Meeting Day. This was a huge honour for us, and to this day something we are incredibly proud of. The two groups have been mutually supportive of each other ever since. The Women's Banner Group have morphed into being more than just a banner group since we first attended the big meeting with our community banner, Mary, in 2018. We're having several female blue plaques erected in County Durham shortly, because can you believe it? There isn't a single one to a working class woman. We are also working on several campaigns to further women's causes, such as trans rights, the Make Misogyny a Hate Crime campaign, and Kill the Bill. Watch this space for our next project, which is to get the first female statue erected in County Durham. There is no other event anywhere in the world more welcoming than the Big Meeting to me. No other event has 250,000 participants, because that's what we all are there, participants. There are no VIPs, there are no spectators, just comrades there to celebrate in the solidarity of our heritage. In the words of my good friend Heather Wood, who was on the show tonight, the gala is our day. It's a day when we celebrate our heritage, but it's also a message to the powers that be that trade unionism is alive and kicking, and that we will continue to fight for justice, fairness, equality and peace. Solidarity.
Keep the red flag flying.